Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. Well, what did you think? Did you like my picture?
I did, but you gotta X out of everything because you're still there.
Oh, shush.
There you go.
We're all still in Mercury in retrograde until tomorrow, and then it's like trying to get a car going from reverse to forward. So it's going to take a little while to relieve ourselves of that.
Well, it's just there's so many buttons to push and so little time. That's what kills me. So anyway, you're listening to my Independence Report. This is Life Between Lives, and the normal group of people are here. It is a great group, and we have a lot of fun doing this show. And if you would like to participate, if you have found us, you can by just calling 206-730. No, that's wrong. 206-408-1395, and we'll put you through to one of these fine folks who can help you with whatever's going on with you. If you've lost somebody and if you're curious about what goes on the other side, well, we're here to help. And the first person I want to tell about that is Natasha Venter. Natasha, tell our audience about yourself a little bit.
I am a medium and an intuitive personal awareness coach. So that personal intuitive awareness coach, it's about me helping you walk through your life. I help people work through grief, emotions of all different sorts. I can work into, like Regan does, past lives. And many of us are being triggered by past lives, our lives today, and we're needing to work through them. And that's where I like to help and support. And people always go, boy, the mantras you give me, the things that you've helped me with are something I take with me for the rest of my life. That moved me forward in a big leap, and I'm grateful for that. And so with that's where I try to help. And I also communicate with the loved ones on the other side, animals to people to even working with stars and star people and the fairies. So it depends on where you want to go. I can reach there and we can go there. So thank you very much.
And Regan, where can we go if we want to talk to you?
Oh, you can they catch me at visittheafterlife.com. You can see that above my head there. And yeah, I'm one of the 250 trained therapists with the Newton Institute, carrying on Dr. Newton's work because he passed away a few years ago. And what we're doing is studying and researching what happens when you die, where you go, what you do while you're there, and what you do when you want to come back. It's the whole process. We've had over 50,000 people have the process so far. Practically anybody can do it. We seem to have a switch inside us that just at a certain point of relaxation, which we help you get to, you just flip the switch and you go to a past life, see yourself pass away, and then there's usually an angel or a teacher, somebody there to wish you well and take you to where you go between lives. So we record all of it, and our clients tell us what they're experiencing as they're having their experience over there. So it's really cool. I mean, the space between here and the other side is getting really, really thin, and somehow God made it possible for most of us to visit there. So, you know, people say, God, if I could only talk to God, you know, well, it's the next best thing because you get to talk to all of his reps over there, you know. You know, the ascended masters, as you would say.
His peeps.
His peeps, yeah. Because that seems to be how it works, you know. I mean, and we'll all part of that, you know, like when we get over there and there's a job that needs to be done to help other souls to become more evolved. You get to pick a job, you know, or if you want to work on yourself, then you reincarnate, come back down and do it all over again, but a little better than the time before. So.
Well, and so
we would hope.
Yeah, we would hope.
Unless some people get to do it over and over and over. But I wanted to ask you two, because this is as this is being presented, it is November 2nd, 2020, which is a day before the election, which is November
Yeah.
3rd, 2020. And I wanted to get both of your opinions on whether or not they really give a rat's ass over there, excuse the expression, or is it something that it's kind of something that we made up and that they let us go along our merry way until we really screw up before they feel like they have to step in. Natasha, what's your sense tell you?
Well, it was kind of funny because as you were asking me, my ears started ringing, which is usually when my guides are really wanting to get my attention. And they said, be careful how you talk about this.
Okay.
So I'm going to trust this because there was a pretty interesting pitch. And so I'm taking it as that there is a fine line, and I personally, it's something that I get a tap on, and they do care. They do put, and I'm going to do this as a generality, okay, that they put people in situations in our lives to help us move forward. So that means who we meet at a grocery store. That means who we pick as loved ones that we choose family for. That means who we work for in our bosses, our co-workers, and it goes up into politics. Okay. So everybody has a divine reason to be in our lives. How we interact with that, what we learn from that is up to us, what we get out of it. And so, yes, they do care who is where and where's who. But at the same time, though, we are all human. How we negotiate through how we do this is us. And so with that sometimes things don't always come out the way that they would wish it for, because we react in a certain way, they react in a certain way, which causes a chain reaction of la-da-da-da-does. And so with that, I think we should move on to another conversation, because everybody's in our lives for a reason to help us learn something.
Now,
and that's about where we want to go with that from their side.
I wanted to ask them if that is something that they want to protect you as an individual more so, or collectively us as a species, or us as collective humanity. I suspect that they want to make sure that you're okay and that we skip merrily along to another topic.
It's a fine line, because right now everyone's on a delicate balance of emotions. And everybody is in a point of, and I'm talking about everybody, and I'm including myself. I have to check in with myself. Am I reacting to this, or am I interacting with this? And so with that, and sometimes it's something that blows me, comes from the right side, that, oh, wait a minute, I was supposed to interact with that instead of react to that. So with that I think right now, if we talked about this in a more calmer time where people aren't so reactionary, we might be able to go further with the conversation. But right now we're all on a delicate fine line of walking, trying to walk the line. And if something goes, I just don't want to teeter it off in the wrong direction. And so I'm just giving this with loving care, and they warned me, so I'm going to trust that.
Tell Michael it's no fun. Regan?
Right.
And it wasn't just Michael.
Yeah.
It was a collective boo, yes, from your side. So Regan, your opinion, and then we will move on.
Okay. Well, what I think is, like, each of us has our own opinion who we want to vote for. And that's good to have our own opinion and do what we feel we need to do for our lesson and whatever. But I think that, like, the big picture here is just like Natasha said, this is all happening for a reason. And we spoke a little bit about it last week, and just seeing that, look at all the good that's come through this so far, with Trump and all this stuff, because it's really put on the table all or a lot of the United States, at least the dysfunction that we have, things we've had buried, prejudices and things that we've maybe subconsciously had, and all of a sudden it's making you think about that, and make you think about, oh my gosh, am I prejudiced, like the Black Lives Matters thing, and people are starting to, it's a shake-up call, I guess, this whole thing. And no matter what happens and which way it goes, it's a little hard to be neutral when you have a, feeling one way or the other. But I think Spirit would just want us to do our part, and then with whatever happens, make the best of it, or see what we can learn from the situation. If we had Trump for another 4 years, I mean, some people would want to, jump off a bridge. Other people would be yelling and like how happy they are. So everybody's looking at it kind of differently. So I'm just thinking that we're in the hard part right now, where it's like when I do therapy with people, like if I'm seeing a couple or a family, one time I had a mom, dad, and a couple of kids, and they just had all kinds of dysfunction going on. And the first couple of sessions were a mess. Everybody was yelling, trying to get their point across. Nobody listened to each other. And finally they get tired of yelling, and they finally go, okay, what can we do? And then you can begin to get some change, where everybody kind of compromises a little bit, everybody changes a little bit. So on a bigger scale, we're all family here in America here, and we need to learn to get along. We need to love each other. And I think the conversation we have next Monday is going to be really interesting, because we're going to be talking about the fallout, and even will we have a clear-cut result by next Monday, even by then, so it's going to be
a fine line.
Yeah, I think so. So that means that people that were whichever side misses out, there's going to be a lot of angry people, a lot of people wishing it was the other way. And then we got to see how it's like a test just to see how we all handle it. Are we going to handle it with love? Or are we going to handle it with some sort of going the other way, to make things worse? So I would say anybody listening out there, whatever feelings of that you have, if you have to respond in some way, think before you act. In other words, are you doing something loving towards a solution, or are you going to do something negative and just make things worse than they already are? So.
See, now that's why I wanted you to talk on it, and you two to talk on it, because there can be, and I'm going to tell Michael and the rest of them that there can be a positive way to spin this. But,
yeah.
But I'm not going to argue with them, because they have lightning bolts they could, like.
Well, and that's the thing is that we, when we can take the perspective, what is this shadow? What is this negativeness here to teach me? What is this supposed to show me that I can work on in myself? And many of us don't understand that emotion of anger isn't about who's president. It's about who has done me wrong before. And that trigger of who's done me wrong before just gets multiplied by the things that are representation on the outside of us that we need to work on the inside of us. And so we can just kind of say, okay, what is this here to teach me? Because I agree that whoever's in there is supposed to teach us something. And sometimes it is about bringing out, the things the dysfunction. Sometimes we have to have dysfunction to show dysfunction. Sometimes if you watch some of those, like the Bar Rescue or a lot of those shows, that, you can say, like in the Bar Rescue guy, he comes in with such an ego. Well, if he doesn't have a good ego to match up with these other egos, then where would that person hear him? Sometimes you have to have something to match something in order to show what needs to be worked on. And that's, if anybody can hear that, that's what I'm asking for, is just to know that there is a greater picture out there. It's not always the way that the universe plans it. It's not always the way that we individually plan it, but it's what's going to happen, because there's so many different perspectives, personalities, humannesses, other instances that are doing this, that are helping this whole thing play out. And sometimes even the ones making decisions don't always know the right thing, because there is no sometimes right thing, because I understand that the only truth out there is love. And so if we can just go with the only truth, which is love, sometimes we can get through what's in front of us.
Which brings up, and I'll change, first of all, how was your Halloween, Natasha?
Mine was very spiritedly interactive. I live in a house that I have put many boundaries up. So if you look in this window here, I have dragons, I've got stones, I've got angels. So I've got a lot of things that are in my protection around me. But I went out to get pizza for my husband, and I told him, "Don't make me drive on Halloween again," because it wasn't just the ones that were dressed up. It was a very spirited, filled Halloween, as I knew it would be. Lots of spirit, lots of family members, lots of people, spirits were coming out of the bars to say, "Hey, it's our party night."
Regan, how did your night go?
I didn't see one trick-or-treater, one person in costume. I was stranded. I was coming up from over the mountain, they call it the Grapevine, from LA down to Bakersfield, and my car engine blew up. And
Oh no.
I ended up by the side of the road. I had to get towed to a place, and so I was sitting in my van eating a chicken dinner I got from the truck stop across the way, and from around 5 o'clock until 2 in the morning, when one of my clients, who supposed to have a session with that day, just so happened that her caretaker was in LA and was coming back that way, and they agreed to pick me up about 2 in the morning. So they picked me up at 2 and dropped me off at the Amtrak station. I waited for it to sit there from 2. I was the only one there from 2 to about 4, and then about 4:20, I took a train all the way to LA, and then my significant other Patricia picked me up at like 10 in the morning. So, I got about 2 hours of sleep and didn't see anybody, or just sitting there eating chicken dinner in my van. But now here's the thing, talk about the good things. For some reason, I wasn't upset at all. I mean, it's going to cost me today about $3,500 to get it fixed. And I got to pick it up next week. But, it just was one of those things that happened. I mean, what could I do about it except to either I could bitch and moan about it, or I could just accept it and just do what I have to do, and it made me feel good that I just, people are saying, "Oh, you poor thing." And I go, "Well, I'm doing okay. I got a chicken dinner here. So I'm,
I hope it's
okay.
good chicken.
Yeah. So, we all get these tests once in a while. I mean, sometimes these monetary things, when you have something and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars, you can scream and get high blood pressure. You can ruin your day and everybody around you by bitching about it and everything, or you can just, okay, this is where I am, but I've always had good luck when I've had car trouble. So I always know that I'm protected and everything, because when it broke down, what happened is the hose had broke, and the car overheated and it blew the head gasket. So it got water in the oil and everything like that. But at first, when I broke down, I was on the freeway, but there was no service with my cell phone. So I couldn't call AAA or anything. There was no place to get water. And then all of a sudden I looked to my left, and down about a quarter mile on my left, down through a bunch of embankment, was a huge lake. So I'm thinking, of all the places to break down, I got all the water in the world right here. So, and then I'm thinking, I've got nothing to carry anything in. And so I get out of the car and I go, somebody threw out a container over here on the side of the road. And then I walk a little further. Oh, there's an antifreeze empty container and whatever. So I had to go through brush, and I had to crawl under a fence because they had the reservoirs off. So I, on my belly, crawling underneath the fence. And then I had, on the way up, I had all my pockets filled with like Coke bottles that I filled with water, and my back pockets, Coke bottles. And I'm carrying up it was hot, and I was going up through the brush, and I got scratched up a little bit. But anyway, I filled it up, and then that gave me enough. I got 10 more miles, and then boom, that's when it just went for good, because all the water leaked out within 10 miles, and the engine was kind of toast. And then I only had a mile to go, and I could, as I'm walking, someone picks up, hands me, I'm starting to get in the car, and they hand me a brand new mask to put on since I'm getting in the car, so, I think, oh my gosh, that's right. These are the times we're in, and anyway, So that was the weirdest Halloween I ever had. So
And most expensive too.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I wanted to ask both of you because of stuff like that, and because of the election, and because of all the stuff that's going on. You've got two schools of thought. One school of thought is, well, it's God's plan, and the other school of thought is, no, there's free will. Which is it, Natasha?
I would say both.
Yeah.
Oh, now that's you're weaseling out of that question.
No, I'm not weaseling out of that one, because it is about things are going to happen. And many times, like, with Regan, I can say that, he had the right perspective. Here's a test to see if I've done my work, to know that I can be calm and I can navigate through this. And then at the same time, you probably got a little bit more grounded, wiggling onto Mother Earth, and getting into her aspect of, this lake, and seeing the beauty around it and the navigation through it. And yes, it was, trouble. And yes, it was all this kind of stuff. But look at the magic that you had. It's kind of like me with my mom with Lou Gehrig's disease. This thing was happening, but I had good people that came. I had good things that happened. My dad gave me the house that I always wished for. There was things that kind of help us through. And if we just have that perspective, life is going to happen. That's the greater plan. But then the personal, how we navigate through it is that personal application of, is this, my cause, or is this somebody else's cause, and maybe, Regan kind of got the tap that he needed to look at his car a little bit, but he intuitively didn't listen to that,
Yeah.
But, but that's just the cause and effect of, we're not all intuitive. So how are we supposed to know those things? It's just one of those things that you can't really point a finger on one or the, because it's always going to be doing this. It's like, whose fault is it? Nobody's fault. How do we interact with it? That's a personal choice and what we've learned.
Yeah. Well, here, too, there's so much good so far that came out of this. I think, and even that couple that got a pull over, this was a Hispanic couple that pulled over, and they were able to do a nice deed for somebody walking on the road. So they did a nice loving thing for the day, and when my client dropped me off at the Amtrak, and there's nobody there, she helped me, I had 4 luggage things that I had, because I had bought a small, that I'm looking at you guys now, bought a 32-inch monitor for my computer. So when we do this every week, I get this big old screen here. It's really nice.
Oh, cool.
So I was carrying that in a suitcase and my computer and everything. Anyway, she begins to have a panic attack. She's been worrying about some things. She's someone, Natasha, that I'm hoping will call you. I gave her your cost information and everything. I don't want to tell you too much about her, but
no, thank you.
Yeah, if she calls you, her name's Kim,
Okay.
and she's an angel, but she's just severe abuse in her life. Anyway, she starts having a panic attack, and so I just calmed. We're just sitting out there, 2:30 in the morning, nobody around. She's having a panic attack, and I'm able to sit with her there for about 45 minutes and do a kind of a free session for her, helping her calm down, telling her, what to do. When she has this panic that comes, I told her to make visibly, like, the image of whatever she's seeing is to turn that into an image of a person. It could be a Bugs Bunny or something, or it could be a person that she trusts, and just picture, instead of trying to, like, it's usually this person chasing her, and I say, just turn it into a cartoon character or something. And then as you're seeing that image, just invite them in your house and give them some cookies and tell them that, he's there to kind of scare you or anything, but, it's okay. Here's some cookies. I love you. And then send him on his way, instead of running and cowering down and just like, I said, just face it with love, I said, you're going to be making a lot of cookies this week for sure, because she has all these attacks. So and she calmed down, everything was good. And then I walked her back to her car, and hopefully she was okay. So, oh, and her son was with her, who I want to do a session with when I go pick up my car. And I've met him one time, but he, because of everything she's been through, he's been severely affected emotionally because it's an ongoing kind of thing with the court case and everything. So he's getting, I could just see, he's just a sweet young man. Anyway, he talked to me for a minute or something and said he's willing to have a session with me. So if that hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't have seen him in person, and he wouldn't have had come forward enough to say, I think maybe you can help me. So when I go pick up the car, they said, hey, we're going to take you about 40 miles to where the car was when I go to Bakersfield. It's up in the mountains where it is. And then I'm going to do a session, 2-hour session with her, and then one with him for the first time, just to get to know him and to tell him that everything's okay. So all just because of that car thing happened, all this other good stuff is happening, you know. And the money I have, money's just energy. It comes to you and it goes. And luckily, you know, because of the COVID and I'm working a little less, I got a little help from the government on unemployment, you know, and that's kind of filling in the gap between me seeing as many people as I normally do. So I went, okay, you know, there's the money, and I'll just be broke again, but it's okay, because look what it's going to be used for, you know.
No, but
and that's the thing is that if, you know, somebody really listened to the path that you just talked about, Regan, that there was a cause, that something happened, and then the domino effect of things rippling along, and you know, it's just one of those things that, you know, like the couple that picked you up. Working in the Hispanic community that I do, a lot of them sit with fear. And so maybe them trusting enough to pick up a stranger on the side of the road help to support their overall picture. You never know what, I mean, I never know, even being intuitive, the domino effect of how things are met up to get to where they're at. And if we have that perspective, oh, what's this here for? Oh, what's that there for? Oh, here's an opportunity here. You know, and every time that something's happened to me, that's been the domino effect that I've had too, that it's like, I've been somebody's been my synchronicity and I've been their synchronicity. You know, it's just this gift that when we can have that perspective of, oh, it's amazing what ends up happening. And I'm just, when I watch the whole bigger, you know, one kind of falling into another scenario that kind of just weaves into and makes a wonderful tapestry if we allow it.
Yeah. I remember missing a plane one time. I was going to Oklahoma, and the plane that we were supposed to take, we were in Kansas City, and the plane we were supposed to transfer to had problems. So they said, we're not going to be able to leave till tomorrow. So, you know, I could have been all upset and everything about, I'm missing the plane, and they put us up in a hotel for the night. But I was right in the middle of dealing with a very serious addiction that I had, and I had just told my wife about it, and so she was with me on the trip, and so it was devastating to her, you know, because I had kind of a secret life back in when I was 29, I guess, and I didn't know. I was just that I'd hurt her by telling her about it, and you know. I wasn't in a good place. So here we are in this motel. She's just not talking. I'm not talking. And I said to God, I just can't, you know, thinking about, oh my gosh, this addiction, I'm going to have to do something with it and about it. And I just felt totally helpless. So I just prayed, I said, I can't do this, you know, I need help. So I went to sleep, and I woke up having an experience where I was in a hospital bed, and like being ready to be operated on, and then boom, here coming through the door comes the doctor, and he's, all you can see is this much because he got the cap over here and the mask on, you know, in blue. And as I'm laying there, and I'm aware that I'm asleep, and I'm aware that I'm awake in the dream, so it's like this conscious dream, you know. And I saw his eyes, and I knew it was a master from the other side, and someone that I had seen pictures of and everything before. And then all of a sudden, boom, through the door comes 4 more, and they come in like, here we are, you know, rush, and they all stood around me, all these masters, and their eyes were just giving me love, you know, through their what I could see of them. And they started they went which would be clockwise motion around me, and they kissed the edges of my body all the way around. And then I woke up, and I was like, oh, whoa. And the next day, my addiction was completely gone. I didn't have to go to a 12-step program. They just lifted it from me. And that was one of the things that because I'm in my 20s at that time, that I realized that I'm on the right spiritual path for myself, because you work with ascended masters in the dream state, and in visions and things like that. So I mean, 2.5 years later, it started to come back again, but I had a break from it enough, and I was able to get some counseling and, nip it in the bud when it kind of came back. So, I don't know, maybe that wouldn't have happened unless I had got to that low point a little bit of missing that plane, feeling bad about everything, like I needed to be in that space for them to work with me,
So I guess you guys are right. There is God's plan, but there are deviations from it, and there are different ways for it to be used for our highest and best good. So when something weird happens to you, just pay attention, because there could be something wonderful come out of it.
Sometimes we just need to stop and breathe. And it's almost like taking a 360 look around us. Even if we just turn a slow circle as we're as we're breathing and just going, okay, what's around me? It's kind of like you taking a look and seeing I need water. Well, what's around me? It's that, we just need to sometimes just stop for a minute. Yeah. People aren't willing to stop sometimes. We get so caught up on that reactionary wheel, the hamster wheel. Oh, I'm going to react, that we forget that we can get off that reactionary wheel and say, oh.
Anytime you want to, you can get off that wheel. It's just a matter of, do you believe you can? Yes. Regan, what are some of the steps that you would advocate somebody that would like to get off the merry-go-round but still live their lives authentically and with purpose? How would you suggest that they go about doing that?
Well, I'm surprised sometimes in the therapy I've done for clients, and when I've watched other therapists work, I am just blown away sometimes about how, if somebody can just reframe the situation they're in and look at it from another side of the mountain, and their mind goes there for a minute and reframes it, sometimes their issue just disappears. It just vanishes. Like a way to watch that in action is some of Tony Robbins' things on YouTube that you can see when he's doing a big, 500,000 or 9,000 people thing. And he's trying to work with some in the audience, and they stand up and tell him their problem, and they're like this. And he uses it's like a form of NLP, like neuro-linguistic programming, which just means you just reframe how people see things, really. And over a period of like 20 minutes, he's working with them, and he's telling them how to let go of that and say, well, what if you just saw it this way? Mm-hmm. And he has them close their eyes or something. And then by the time they're done, their face is calm. All of a sudden they go, wow, all I had to do is look at this a different way, and the problem goes away. So I see people do that. That's what the EFT, when I do the tapping, mm-hmm. is I have them reframe it, as I'm having them talk as we're doing the tapping on the different points. And it's fun to watch it happen, because just see how their energy changes from like victim to, whoa, maybe there's something here. Maybe it's not all bad, So,
Natasha, how do you make it happen for people?
In the kind of the same fashion that it depends on the person that I'm working with at the time. Depends on if it is about changing the perspective, or sometimes it is about going back to where a seed was planted when they were younger to react in a certain way, that things kind of happen. And when they get wait a minute, that's right, I heard that when I was younger, and that made me think about this, which made me have a pattern of being like the caregiver or the victim of my family, or whatever the scenario is. That it could be a past life. So it just really depends on what the key is. Everybody has a certain key that it interacts with, and it's just finding that guidance. And that's where I trust my team, the angels, personal guides, the ascended masters, whoever comes in. Like yesterday, I was doing a a meditation with somebody, and I had Merlin come in, Tesla come in, and then I had Metatron come in, you know, the angel of Metatron, who he's kind of out in the ethers. He's kind of he's way out there, but he works with a lot with electronics of us, you know, not necessarily the electronics of us, the wires, but there's this electronics of us that we are all connected with. And that's where he works. And so I had some powerful people who were coming in to help this person get back to herself. And so you never know what that key is to get them there. And it was neat to see how Merlin did his magic. Metatron did his little whispers of doings. And then, you know, and then Tesla just sitting there going, this is cool. I'm going to put this piece with that piece and that piece with this piece. And it was just kind of watching these guys just was amazing. So I can't tell you there's one key. I can tell you that there's a keychain that the universe has, and they say it's this key today.
Next time you talk to Merlin, I really want to know how Arthur got the sword out of the stone.
It was his turn to do that magic.
Oh, okay. Well,
it was just his turn to do that magic. And yes, there's a lot of folklore with that story, but there was actually my girlfriend's son was King Arthur, and so he was truly there. Now, how it played out was a little bit different than what the story is. Kind of like the story of Mother Mary is a little bit different with Jesus. You know, it's just one of those things that we just kind of have to know. But he was meant to have the magic at that time to make. He was. I don't want to call him the Jesus of his time, but he was part of that magic that was starting to turn us into another spot in our bigger picture of who we are.
Well, that ruins my whole story.
Well, when I have to do a past life regression with people too, and when the first question I ask them when they're out of their body and they're looking at their funeral, and when they're done with that, or stick it around for a while to let people know that they're okay, like we talked about last week. Then the first question I ask them, and I say, you know, what did you learn from that life? And everybody across the board has always been able to tell me what their lesson was. In other words, because I'd just been through in this past life, and it might have been very difficult. They went through all kinds of emotion and losing the loved ones, and maybe sometimes violence happening to them, or different, you know, being so upset with people in their life. And they get to the other side, and it's always something like, you know, well, I learned that I can be strong. You know, I learned patience, or I learned how to accept people more, or whatever. But so that shows me too that they, as soul, once they're out of this physical body, then and they get to their spirit self, you know, then they realize what they just learned. So, you know, I've never had anybody go, you know, that was horrible, and oh, I'm so angry, whatever. This is always. It's always they come from a loving place, you know, or an acceptance of themselves. So that made me a believer too, you know, that we're here for a reason. And remember, like I said last week, that I told you last week, it was just funny, you know, about in case someone's listened to this first time, about that person that said she picked her lifetime to learn patience. And I said, how long have you been learning patience? She says, oh, about 500 years, you know. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes it's just a simple thing, and boy, people try our patience, and the thing with Trump and Biden now, you know, because some people are upset with both of them because it looks like there could be a little corruption on both sides, or they're not perfect human beings, you know, and you just you know, you just have to make your vote and go with the consequences. See what kind of government we have, because just think about if Trump is here another 4 years. We're going to have a whole different thing happen in this country than if Biden's in there, because the Democrats will shift things a different way. And we don't know which, you know, we'll just say, just hope God says, okay, whichever way it goes, that it's, you know, going to be okay, you know.
You know, what's interesting is I tend to think that, and we'll see after tomorrow, but do you know that, as an example, in Texas, more people have voted in pre-voting than did in all of 16?
I heard that.
So what has happened is the collective consciousness of mankind has been aroused. And I
Yeah.
don't know what that arousal means and who it supports, but it does. The beauty of it is people are getting involved, and they're not waiting. They're not just saying, I can't do anything about that. They really are making an effort to find out what the issues are, find out what they believe, and then follow and get involved with the people that they want to help them. So I think overall, and it may turn out, now Natasha said this a while back, and I don't know if we did it on this one or one of the other ones, but she had said that or what, it was either her or somebody else that's been on the show, that Trump has been a godsend because he has woken up everyone in the fact that everybody realizes that elections have consequences, and if you don't like what's happening, you better get off your ass and go to work to change it. And everybody needs to do that.
Yeah.
And was that you who said that, Natasha?
No, I've said something in that kind of context, but not necessarily. He was planned, and he was planned in the bigger sense of just to stir the pot. You know, he was meant to stir the pot. Now, whatever came out of that stew, it depends on if we like peppers or if we like potatoes. So it's kind of one of those things that, and you know, and that's the whole plan about this too. But it is about, and that's one thing that people need to realize, that it is about the breath in and the breath out. Care about ourselves, care about the others. Care about ourselves, care about our others. It's like, you know, each year has a universal year. And back when we had 11-2, it was a year where you added up the numbers and it became, you know, 11. You added up 2,000 something, and then it became 11. And my math and my dyslexia right now are not working together right now. So I'm just going to,
okay,
you know, guesstimate. So, you know, and it turned out to be 11, and then you always add up 1 and 1 make 2. So it was 11-2 year. Well, I've got that it's about taking care of, 11's about community, about being aware of what's going on around us. 11 is a magical number. It's that connection with the universe. If you do a prayer on 11/11, it's like putting your prayers on express mail, you know, that just goes through. And then 2 is about home. It's about community. It's about self. It's about it's about that healthy I. How can I get healthy? But we can't have a healthy I without having a great community. And we can't have a great community without having a healthy I. And so that year was about that learning about the clock. You know, how can we manage these different scenarios? And we're kind of back in that. How can we take care of the COVID, about how can we take care of our home, make our home more comfortable, but then care about the outerness. Who are we going to be voting for? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? How do we walk into grocery stores? It's that caring about that, breath in, breath out.
Now, do you follow numerology?
I do, within reason.
Oh, what is 9?
9 is about endings.
Well, correct me if I did this right. 11, 3, 2, and 2. Add those up together, and they equal 9.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 is the numerology for tomorrow's date.
So endings. But remember, every ending leads to a new beginning. Like I've been seeing 9/11 a lot lately. Well, 9 is about endings, but then there's always magical beginnings.
Yes.
1 is about beginnings. So you can't have an ending without a new beginning. So the next day would be a 1, which means new beginnings. So think about every time we have an ending, how can we make this new beginning magical?
Yeah. Well, sometimes, you know, with dream work, I took, for a number of years, a dream class, you know, trying to learn how to, you know, become aware of my dreams, kind of learn how to get help in the dreams and everything. And one of the things I learned, like I used to have tornadoes in my dreams a lot. And
I do all the time.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you what I found out.
What does
now,
it mean?
I've changed my whole perspective on things. Well, when I would have them, in the dream, I would usually cower down under something and just be like, it's all around me and just waiting for it to be over.
Yeah.
And then, but now what I learned was usually tornado is a sign that your old consciousness is being torn up to allow for a new one to come in. So the last couple of times I had them, the tornado was coming and I jumped for joy and I ran out and just let myself go in the tornado, and it was such a freeing feeling, just because I realized I was welcoming a new consciousness. And now that's what it meant for me. I mean, it could mean, like when you're interpreting dreams, depending on your mind state, depending on your occupation, like if you have a dream and you're on the roof doing something and you're a roofer during the day, it could have a different interpretation than someone who's never been up on a roof before.
Right.
So people have to kind of learn their own dream symbols, but generally tornadoes it's just ripping up the old so the new can begin. Or if you get killed in a dream, some people go, oh, they're just afraid. And I go, well, a lot of times that's just the end of the old and the beginning of the new.
And right now we're in the midst of, do we choose to stand in the middle of the tornado or do we choose to stand in the tornado?
Oh, right.
So with that I choose to stand in the middle because then I can be with the energy and it's moving me where I need to go, but I have calmness.
That's great.
I can look up and see blue sky. I know I'm connected to Mother Earth. And I can reach in and grab out what I want out of the tornado.
Natasha, right? That's great. I like that
but then so many people, they step into the tornado.
Dorothy.
And they just get whirled around and they don't have any, I don't want to call it control because there's a fine line on that word. We never really truly have control, but we have a way of how we can control our own selves and how we interact. But yet at the same time, though, we step into tornado and we never really get grounded. We never really, it's like being on a hamster wheel, because the hamster wheel is just a tornado sit, in another direction. It's just that whole concept of tornadoes. And I know for me that when I've done some spiritual work, and I metaphorically go in to myself and I basically, when you're doing spiritual work and you decide to basically strip yourself and be your bodied self with no clothes on, and then you go into the tornado, you're literally just walking yourself in and cleansing yourself in a way that you've never done it before. And so with that there's that walking in and letting the tornado, it's like walking through a car wash. And then you go to the center and then you just see what that universe of love is about, because that tornado is the universe of love. And then the tornado just kind of dissipates and then you walk back out. And so it's one of those things that you can use a tornado for a lot of different scenarios. And there again, it's not about this or that. And so, I don't know, if I just froze, I'm sorry, my internet just said it was a little bit wonky, but, we're choosing to either be in the tornado or not. How can we use the tornado? What does that tornado represent? Does it say destruction, or is it the tornado of absolute divine love that's trying to cleanse you?
And just remember that if you meditate and you feel like there's a tornado, so you take your clothes off, don't go outside. You'll end up in the county, and you'll end up with the white coats after you. I'm just kidding. By the way, do you know what November 4th is? It's a 1.
Well, usually 1 comes after 9. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but think about that election day is an ending, and the next day is the new beginning.
So even if Trump is president, we're just going to do the big if. And that's the way to take fears out. What is the if? Well, if he does come back, will things be the same way? Maybe he has a different agenda. Maybe there is a different agenda planned. We don't know what the big if is.
We're pretty sure, though.
What's that?
We're pretty sure. He's been doing it for 4 years. He's not liable to change much. But some people are okay with that. 35-40% of the country is just perfectly fine with him
Yeah,
being just how he is.
there, but even, most presidents have a different, they don't have to, they're on a free 4 years. You know what I mean? So there's a different kind of agenda that ends up just sparking a little bit. We just never know. I'm doing the big if. I'm just doing the big if.
Yeah.
Which is good. So, we really don't know. All we know is that that this is a great show for us to be doing, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. By the way, Regan, did the monitor make it home?
Did the what?
Did your monitor make it home? The 30-inch monitor?
Oh, did it? What about the monitor?
Did it make it home? Did it get out of the?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at you on it right now.
Oh, very good. Well, I hate to say this, but this is our last show. So I'm kidding.
Well, that's okay. I got 14 days to take it back. So
see, there's always good about something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, this has been a lot of fun, and we're wrapping up our hour about now. But Regan, what would you like to talk to our audience about? Is there something that's been rattling around every week? Something rattles around in my brain that I want to bring up. So
yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to give Natasha a good plug here, just because the person that was on her show last year, Carrie, got a lot out of what you did for her.
Thank you.
It was fun sitting next to her and having you tell her things because I known her for 12 years, and I know a lot about her, and her significant other there listened to it later, and he just laughed. We both laughed because she's just that fun-loving. She loves to get people smiling, and she does all the time, even with her decorations. I mean, nobody on the street she looked like Disneyland decorations. I mean, the whole yard. And so moms walk on their kids, the kids would just stop and look, and one kid that came by every day wanted his mom to take for a walk so he could look at all of the decorations, and it just, you could see how good it made her feel when she's bringing joy to these people. So when you told her that one of her jobs was just to be very cheerful and happy and smile at people and whatever to help them come out of the COVID thing, to deal with all this stuff, it was really right on. So anyway, anybody, I hope, people watching this, they may watch it, who knows, it might be a year from now, they even see it on YouTube or the different places Kevin's putting it up, and they can maybe give you a call. But you do your job really, really well. And so I can't wait until you get to give Dane some insight, and then Patty, my significant other, is going to probably do a session with you too. So she'll be calling you.
Thank you for that trust. That's the greatest gift, when somebody can trust me enough to put their being with me. I honor that, and I respect that highly, and I'm grateful. I'm forever grateful.
Good. And as far as again, as we open the show and end it here, people, if you want to get hold of me, I'm at visittheafterlife.com. And there's a page on the back. You can send me a note if you'd like to know more about what it's like to have a past life regression, or even better, it goes way better than that, a life between lives, where we found out now almost everybody can visit heaven. You can make a list of questions you want answered, and they're always happy to answer any questions you have. And you can visit loved ones that have passed on. There's schools of learning there that some people go to. You can even go to a place of recreation if you want, and you can see what you're going to be doing in heaven for recreation, because they have a lot of fun things that they do. It's a game changer, because you start to realize that you have a mission. You're not all alone. There's beings that are assigned to you that are there with you all the time, and you can start making your life easier, because you can kind of get a connection with them, and realize that you got to get going on whatever your mission is here. And it's always about love. It's always has something to do with learning about love. And so I'd be happy to help anybody. I work all of California. Past life regressions I could do on Zoom, but life between life is more personal. It would take an in-person thing, but I can hook them up with another therapist in another part of the country if they want. So anyway, that's it.
Let me explain how important the work that you do is. Actually, both of you. But the work that you do is so important, because as people who've been following the show know, that my brother passed a couple of weeks ago. And because of the work that Dr. Newton did with lots of people, and you with 50,000 people that you guys have done work with now, there's a blueprint out there that tells us really what happens to us on the other side, that it's not scary, that it's full of love, that everybody's there for our highest good. And so I can actually, he's 2 weeks in, and I can actually tell you that from my frame of mind, he's now done with his past life review. He is working with his guide, and he's on his way to getting together with his soul group so that he can start moving towards the next goal that he has, whatever it is to be. And so I have a real good understanding that he
spends time with your mom a lot.
Yes, well, she's here, but he
spends time with your mom a lot.
Yeah, and doesn't want to talk to me much, but that's okay. We were anyway, but I digress. But he is he's able to come here and to talk with us. But more importantly, he's almost through his humanness issues. And you know what I mean by that, right, Regan?
Yeah. Sometimes, you take it. It doesn't happen sometimes. Some people, when they get to the other side, boom, they've done it so many times, they just drop everything. They're back in their soul self, and they just go back to heaven and go home. And others, they still carry for a while, like people that commit suicide or something. When they get on the other side, they have angels or guides and work with them for a while because they've just shooken things up, and they have to takes them a little while to get, rip all that away and get to their true energy soul self.
His soul energy was damaged somewhere along the line to some degree, not a huge degree, but damaged enough to where his empathy for humans wasn't quite there, and that sort of thing. And that takes a while for the energy to be rearranged the way it is supposed to be. And Natasha, you are nodding your head.
Yeah, and he's still doing a little bit of that integration. It's going to take him a little bit longer, but he's like I said, he's spending time with your mom, and that's part of his healing process. Is that they're doing some healing work for her being in the physical body still, and him doing it in the spiritual body. That there's some work that they're doing for themselves,
which is just awesome. But I wanted to compliment both of you, because that's why we're doing this, is that it provides people with a real honest to goodness. This ain't fairy dust. This ain't a bunch of crap. This isn't wishful thinking. That really is, it is true to life stuff. And I'm hoping that we do this every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
And so if you would like to give us a call at that time, we do have phone lines that'll be open, and you can talk to these fine folks about what it is that you think that you need. And if you have any questions about all this, they are chock full of answers. I can tell you that. They both been through the wars and down the road.
Yeah, and you can also put notes in the comments too if you feel like you need to do that. And so we're all in this midst of learning what we need to do, and there's going to be, and I'm going to say this, that there's going to be another doorway where Sean Connery is just the beginning.
Oh yeah, I did before I got a hair transplant up here, I auditioned in Hollywood for a thing as Sean Connery, and because without that in a way, I had a little bit of look like him, so my agent sent me to an audition, and I went in there and I'm sitting with like 20 guys, and they all look like Sean Connery, and I went, wow,
did they sound like Sean Connery?
Yeah, I did. I felt, well, I looked pretty much like him when I got there, and I went, oh, these other guys look way more like him than I do. So.
Sean Connery was a great actor.
Yeah.
I understand he was a bit of a stinker from time to time as a human being, but he was a great actor, and he believed in what he did for a living for a long time.
Yes.
So he was good. He was good. So, but you're thinking, Natasha, that there are going to be more people that are going through the exit doors as we go through this next period of ickiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and many times if you look back in history, that this time frame, and usually it's a little bit before Halloween or All Saints Day, or the Day of the Dead, November 1st, that there's this doorway that opens up, and then it kind of goes through until, I'm going to say just shortly after the new year. And so it is just it's just an easy grace of this time where it's just time for people just to say, I'm done. And I'm sorry, family, that this is going to happen. And my love goes to you, through this process. But it is something that some people just say, it's my time.
Mm-hmm.
And with COVID out there, and with the projections that they're making about what's going to go on in the wintertime if something dramatic doesn't happen very soon, we're going to lose another 200,000 people in that period of time, and that's just a horrible thing. So all we can do is do the best we can and love each other and to take care of each other. Wear your mask, socially distance. Don't be silly, because the person you are putting at risk could be me, and then I'll be really pissed.
Yeah.
Because I'm in that age group that that I could. As a matter of fact, my son can't even visit me now. So because he was exposed to somebody that at work who had it, so now I can't see him for a couple of weeks to make sure that he doesn't kill me. Because it would be really sad if he had to go through the rest
It's
of the
not your doorway.
Huh?
It's not your doorway.
Where's my doorway? Please,
not for a couple years. Your doorway's not for a couple years.
Well, wait, hold on.
You got to put up with me for a little bit longer.
No, wait a minute, hold on. Did you say a couple of years? So a couple of years.
I mean, couple years.
That's good.
You're a long ways out there, sir.
And Regan, you as well, my friend. It's great for you guys to participate. This is just way too much fun. So given that, Natasha, anything you'd like to add before we quit?
That this is a time in life where the universe is really asking us to breathe. And I'm not just meaning breathe in our masks or the logistics of just breathing. It's just taking a moment and breathe and look at what life is really here to show us. It's not about being reactionary. It's about what is this here to show us. And if we can take that perspective, the trauma that comes into our lives can have a little bit more grace and ease. And the wisdom that we can gain from this is a huge learning curve for us as humans. And if we can take that perspective that, it doesn't matter how old we are, we're always in school. So what can we learn in this timeline of where we're at? And it's not always about learning the ABCs or the 1, 2, 3s. It's about learning what is going to make us to our greater, lighter, and self just enjoyment. Because that's one thing that Regan, you showed during this conversation, what happened to you during Halloween. You had that it wasn't like you were punishing yourself. You had self-enjoyment of just saying, hey, I'm doing pretty good through this. It's that, oh, I can do this, type of thing. And that's where we're all as humans trying to get to, is that, that's happening again. Okay. Not getting into the trauma of it.
And you had a good chicken dinner on the side of the road. I think it's a country music song somewhere.
Well,
I had me a chicken dinner on the side of the road. It was great fun.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait till next week, because that'll be very interesting. Actually, I think probably Friday or Saturday, I've got to Amtrak back down to get it, and I'll be back on Monday again. So I'll have you'll have to ask me if I got home safe and it didn't blow up on the new van, didn't blow up me on the way or something. But and I'll be $3,500 lighter, so I'll be still smiling.
Are they having to replace the head gasket and the whole shebang?
Yeah, when I got him to fix the, because the price was so much, and he offered to fix the leaky transmission, put a new seal in there, and to fix two of my doors that aren't operating, the electric stuff's not operating right, so he's gonna throw that in, so actually, it'll be great. It's a great
So
therapy.
actually, the $3,500, you're actually probably going to get a little bit more out of it, because
Yeah.
that transmission thing is not necessarily a cheap dance either. So
Yeah.
Which brings up another thing. When you're working with the mechanic, you can negotiate. Not
Yeah.
necessarily price, but you can negotiate with the other stuff. So, and he really wanted to do the work because he really needed the money. So,
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's helping, just thinking that this money he's making is gonna help his family too, and, it's gonna be, like you say, the domino effect of when something happens, it just goes and goes, ripples way down past where your situation is to
And if
something.
you picture that $3,500 and more coming back in, the breath in, the breath out, and it circles around, you never know what's going to come back in your prosperity,
Yeah,
because you're so willing to exchange, have that exchange.
yeah,
so you know what's going to happen is you're going to get onto the Amtrak train. You're going to sit next to somebody and you're going to have a conversation with them, and they're going to be so enthused about what it is that you do because you're going to explain it all, and they're going to say, well, we're having a conference and I would really love you to speak at this conference. The conference pays $4,500. I realize that's not much, but would you come to do our conference with us? That's what's going to happen, and then that completes a circle. So there.
yeah,
You never know. But if you put it out there, you may just get either a portion of what you asked for or even greater than what you asked for.
yeah. Whatever you need, it comes.
Yeah,
Indeed.
exactly.
Well, I'd like to thank the two of you for being here. It's been just awesome.
All right.
And I've been meaning to say that you can reach me at angelicclarifications.com.
Or just think of her and she'll show up.
To show, hey, I had a client this morning who she was saying, she was saying, I gotta call Natasha. Well, she texted me today and I said, I was thinking about you this morning. You never know.
Yes, indeed. Well, now what we'll do is we'll put this bat thing that'll go into the sky, and then they'll know that they need Natasha to come, and I still want the two of you to do a tag team on somebody. I think it would be pretty remarkable. So
I think so too. I think so too.
With that, both of you, thank you so much for
All right, Kev.
on the show today, and take care, everybody. Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other, because each other's all we've got. See you next time on My Independence Report.